Hello and welcome to a quarantine stream. It's Thursday. I'm so excited. How's the music? Quiet enough? Let me turn it down a little more. I'm just gonna let it keep going. It's Thursday. It's the first quarantine stream back home. It's like I completely forgot how to do this. I was like, oh shit, I didn't set up my lighting. Oh shit, my audio is weird. Oh shit, how do I do restream again? So lots of fun. I'm sure it looks and sounds fantastic. Yeah, that all checks out. Wow. Here we are, once again, another corn stream. Wow. It's been a while. Hold on. Sorry, that lighting's really bad. I forgot. I have my ring light next to me. It's disassembled. Out of commission currently. I'll have to remember it next time. Let's get that music off. Everything looks good to me. Turn on performance mode because my computer will take a big dump if I don't. Now I can't see what's happening. Incredible. What's up? It's Thursday. Back in the studio, I guess. And wow, how's everybody doing? Things are, just as eventful as normal, I'm sure. Things are ramping up. We got the election coming up. The SCOTUS confirmation hearing, kind of a joke. Plenty of fun things. So I'm gonna, I guess I'll briefly mention a couple of things, and then mostly just kind of like, I was planning on like, oh shit. So anyway, we were on the trip, came back from the trip, beginning of the week. Basically just been tired ever since, driving, in a car 8 hours a day, even if it's just a week at a time, definitely drains you. So, been recovering from that. Had plenty of other things to address and deal with when we got home. But it's kind of nice to be home, and I haven't had too much to do. I've been able to recover a little bit, although my foot is still jacked up. I got bit by something, and my foot is now, it's my right foot. I'm not going to show you, but it ballooned up to like 2 or 3 times in size. And now it kind of looks like a normal foot with 2 huge blisters by my pinky toe. But yeah, mostly just been focusing on getting the trumpet chops back and doing my October. I've missed a couple days, but like, who cares? Honestly, if that's all I miss, which is probably not going to be the case, it'll still be one of my more successful years. So that'll be nice. I haven't seen a single other person participate, but whatever. It is nice to do every year. It can get to be a lot because you start to get more ambitious as you go, and you're like, oh shit, like, unless I spend an entire day working on one thing, and then you have to work on something the next day, and the next day, and the next day. So reminding yourself to set reasonable goals. Like the thing I want to do for today, which I'm going to do after this, is I'm probably going to have to simplify it, but we'll see. It should be pretty, it's one of those things that's conceptually, it's very basic, and the execution, like the capturing of it is not like a big deal, but like the editing that I'll have to do to get the right impact. So I don't know. we'll see. Um, but yeah, I'm gonna talk a little about the trip. Um, and then I'll mention a couple of it. I'm trying to think of the order I want to do because I was like scrambling to get ready. I'm playing with some tweezers for some reason. Um, let's see. What do I want to talk about first? Talk about the trip first, or whatever bullshit is happening right now. Um, I was gonna talk a little bit about election, mostly just like a couple of things. Like, oh, I should mention in the description for the YouTube video at least. Um, I have linked the DSA LA voter guide, which I have been using for the past few years. Um, as a Southern California resident, although I don't live in LA, even though a lot of what they have on there is specific to LA. There's plenty that has, they deal with the statewide propositions, and then some county-wide measures, and a few, specific, like Southern California, LA County, more specifically, things to vote for, but stuff like city council from, and things like that. For my city, they got nothing. So I'll talk a little bit about that. I'll start off with that. I mean, for one, if you see the thumbnail, at least in the YouTube video, it's the GOP fake ballot boxes that are totally illegal. They are presenting their own ballot boxes as official California state ballot boxes, which is not true and not legal. I think the justification they were using in California, there's a thing called like ballot harvesting, where I learned about this when I was doing when I was canvassing for Bernie earlier this year. You can actually hand off your ballot to somebody, and you just sign. They just sign. The voter, just signs on the thing that you seal your ballot in, saying like, I'm gonna give this, have it collected by and sent in by somebody else. This is for like your mail-in ballot, I think. Only, yeah, it would only be mail-in ballot. And yeah, someone else can collect your ballot for you and then take it in, so you don't have to leave your house. And I guess their justification for their fake ballot boxes is that, well, if someone can come to your house and knock on your door and take your ballot from you, then we should be able to collect ballots in our fake ballot boxes. But then who's going to be signing? Are they going to sign off that they're handing their ballot off to somebody else, except they're not, and they're just putting it in the box? Like, I don't know how that's going to work. It's weird because it seems like obvious, like, oh, they're trying to do voter disenfranchisement, but it seems like they're like advertising to their base that they should be going. And using these fake ballot boxes. Let me just close a few things. My computer's already dying. Literally have one tab open. Amazing. Wow. My God. Every time. Welcome back to the amazing stream quality. I'm just gonna hope that sorts itself out. I'm just gonna keep going because usually what happens is the audio is fine, right? But anyway, yeah, California. There's fake ballot boxes. Let me see. I got an email from the state secretary. I probably should include this in the description as well. There's in LA, there's lavote.net where you can look up where you can drop off your ballots and where early voting locations are and stuff like that. And also in our ballots, like on the back of one of the pages, it says, here's all your early voting locations. Here's where you can drop off your ballot, like the nearest places to drop off your ballot. I don't know if it's like that in other parts of the state or in other states. At least in California, what do we got? Where's my ballot? Where's my ballot? Typed no punctuation, no space. Where's my ballot.sos.ca.gov? Oh, that's how to track it, right? caearlyvoting.sos.ca.gov. There we go. Find ballot drop-off locations near you. Right. And of course, we've heard stories of people waiting in line for like 12 hours to vote. Voter disenfranchisement and discouragement is alive and well in this country. Which actually, I didn't hear about this proposition that was on the California ballot. Prop 17 restores right to vote after completion of prison term, legislative constitutional amendment, and the summary in the sample ballot restores voting rights upon completion of prison term to persons who have been disqualified from voting while serving a prison term. And that's Prop 17. So basically, re-enfranchising people after they serve their sentence, which is a good thing for democracy. I'm not really sure why we disenfranchise people. It's like, well, I mean, we understand our prison system is punitive. It's not restorative. It's not rehabilitative. We just want to punish people. We don't care about reintegrating people into society. We don't care about once you've served your time, then you can be welcomed back and you'll be reintegrated. It's just you did something bad, so we're going to punish you, and you're not allowed to participate in our democracy, even though you still have to pay taxes and stuff like that. Which should be ridiculous it should be like a non-controversial thing, right? That should be ridiculous to everybody. Like, if you're a constitutional originalist, like our future Supreme Court Justice, was it Amy Coney Barrett, something like that? Yeah. My God, I haven't been following that hearing, but I just expect her to be confirmed. Like, I don't know. Democrats sometimes surprise me, but I just assume that they're always going to be toothless and never actually follow through when they say like how important something is, or how dangerous Trump is, and all this and that, and how the other side isn't playing fair or whatever. I just expect them to roll over. So, and Feinstein, you've been following. She's done a great job of being very amicable to the dangerous Republican Party and the undemocratic Supreme Court confirmation hearing. But yeah, that's fun, and that's I'm sure that puts everyone in a good mood. There's also, of course, Prop 22 on the ballot, which is basically bought and paid for by Uber and Lyft, the tech companies, to get an exemption for app-based transportation and delivery companies. It's basically rideshare. They would get an exemption from last year's AB5, or I guess it was put in place this year, or became effective this year, AB5, which changed for purposes of labor laws, the definition of employees. Very controversial, and depending on what industry you're in, a lot of musicians don't like it. However, in this situation, that bill, which was amending some previous ruling or bill or something like that, was basically aimed at rideshare companies who were trying to get around treating their employees like employees. So their retaliation was to basically buy signatures. If you don't know about California lawmaking system, we have these propositions that we can vote for. Um, they can be put on the ballot in a few different ways. And one big way is petitions. I think it's like 1 million signatures or something like that. And you can get a proposition put on the ballot. And so if you're a company like Uber or Lyft or whatever, DoorDash, so on and so forth, you can pay people to gather up signatures, and then, boom, your legislation is on the ballot to be voted on by people. And if you're these tech companies, you could sink in, almost $200 million in order to convince people that this proposition does anything except save these companies some money by not treating their employees like employees. People think it has something to do with other industries. People think it has something to do with AB5 in general. AB5. It does not. It is simply a pay-to-win, anti-democratic ploy. Everyone in California should absolutely vote no, and encourage everyone you know to vote no. There's some other things on there. Again, I would encourage people to look at the DSA LA 2020 General Election Voting Guide. At least if you're in that area. If you're outside of there, I don't know. You could use that as a jumping off point. I think, DSA, they are, there's, I guess, controversy in terms of the sort of engagement in electoral politics. But your local activist organization is not a bad place to start when it comes to looking at things down the ballot. Of course, the presidential one is the thing that most people care about. I don't, at least in terms of my vote, because I live in California and it doesn't matter who I vote for. So whatever. If you live in a swing state, you shouldn't vote for Trump. Nobody should vote for Trump. If you live in a solidly Democratic state, do whatever you want, because, whatever. It does look like turnout this year is going to be looking pretty unprecedented, even with the difficulties in voting due to COVID and general, disenfranchisement that we come to expect in this country normally. But we'll see what happens. It's, again, for me, the whole debacle is a little sad. I've talked about it a little bit, I think, on other streams. Maybe I'll talk about it again in the future. For now, this is just a, hey, welcome back stream. Hey, what's going on? How you guys doing? I'm doing all right. A little tired. Been trying to drink a lot of water. Eating some apples, But that is that. I don't want to focus too much. Yeah, I mean, again, I said my piece about it. Focusing too much on the election, for me, it's like, yes, Trump is bad. Yeah, Biden's bad. Trump is worse. The Republicans are worse. But the Democrats, frankly, they are generally an ineffective opposition party, and they're pretty shit when they're in power too. So, it is what it is, I guess. In terms of me encouraging you to feel anything about the election, I mean, like, obviously the election has consequences, and some of the more down ballot stuff, like propositions in California, are very, very powerful. Like, this whole thing, like, you don't hear about something until right when it's time to vote. And it sounds good, but the consequences are like millions, billions of dollars over the course of like a decade or whatever, you don't know. It's always hard to learn the history of like, who's paying for this, who wants this, who wants that, even things that sound good. And it can get very granular, because especially when like, these are propositions written by groups with money and some, money for legal, advisement. And it's like, oh, they understand the law and they understand what they need to put in there to make certain things happen. But they can in the when they spend money to campaign for this proposition, they could spin it one way or the other. And as just a regular ass voter, you're just looking at this thing, you're like, if I read this bill, this proposition, and it's like 50 pages, and like I don't understand, I don't get it. It's too it's too specific, all the legalese and all that stuff. So it is a interesting thing to participate in, I guess. But anyway, that I think I've said enough about that. The trip. So I was thinking of I've been doing little. I brought my GoPro. I did like a handful of like little vlogs during the trip, and I was like, oh, I'll do one when we're coming back, or I'll do one when I get back home. Instead, I'm just doing this stream, and if I do a video in the future about the trip, I'll just take clips from the stream, even though it's probably gonna look terrible. That's fine by me. So I'm not gonna spend too much time reflecting on it. This is gonna be a shorter one. I'm still a bit in recovery mode. I mean, it's been a few days, and I've still just been spending every day just kind of tired. Probably part of it is because of the trip, and part of it is just other stuff. But it was fun. It was interesting, and it was cool. I'm glad I got to do it. I just hope that we were able to do everything safely as we could. So basically, I've talked about this trip on other streams. Didn't really give the details. Basically, we went from this coast, this coast, hung out, and then went back from this coast to this coast. Over the course of like 3 weeks. Saw some friends who I haven't seen in a while. Saw some friends who I've never seen. Some internet buds. Saw some of Laura's family. Laura back at home like since like yesterday. We were hanging out for a few days. Hold on. Hello. Um, and yeah, she's been spending her time dealing with her own stuff. Um, Getting a new car from her family. Yeah, we went and saw her family, and I met some family of hers that hadn't met before. She got her family's old car, and they're selling her old car. And now she's got to deal with changing the plates and all that stuff. Which is fun, and trying to figure out how the DMV works in this day and age. Also very fun. It's been very interesting because I've been around the country several times, but that was when I was doing drum corps, and you get a very different view of the country, I think, or a very specific view. You see a lot of cornfields and schools with cemeteries next to them. And fun things like that, and high school football stadiums, and NFL football stadiums sometimes. But mostly you spend your time sleeping on a bus or rehearsing on a field. You don't necessarily get to see and explore too much of these small towns that you might pass through. You'll see a gas station when you get a chance to hop off and do a little potty break. But I usually just try to sleep on the bus when we're actually doing those travel days or travel nights. Usually what it was. But it's interesting. We planned it out. AAA has this thing where you can sort of plan out a trip, and they can show you restaurants and hotels that they recommend. And for our special time, they had like a little COVID tab where it's like, this is what these counties and these states are doing with COVID, and this is what's required, and this is what's recommended, and things like that. And it was very interesting to see how different places were operating. I think I did a stream early on where I was just kind of like, how is this whole situation going to affect human interaction and the way we see each other? But honestly, barring some kind of mass die off, like some sort of like catastrophic event, I don't think people, at least in America, people are gonna be doing what they're gonna do. There are plenty of places we went to where what pandemic, you know what I mean? Like, you would never know, aside for a few people from who were out of the not from that area, wearing their masks while in a gas station. Whereas everyone else is just kind of going about their business like nothing's happening, and we went through a few larger cities, but we didn't really stay too long. We weren't there in the evenings, as I've been sitting here and following different things around the country, still a lot of protests and street actions and police rioting and things going on. But we didn't really catch wind of that at any point. It was interesting to kind of be able to see the country sort of on our own terms. We didn't want to spend too much time because we didn't want to spend too many nights at hotels, and we couldn't spend too much time in any one places because we had to be on the road. We ate out a lot, but we never ate in any establishments. Maybe like a couple times when there was like outdoor stuff available, and no one else was around. We did something like that. For the most part, we were eating meals in the hotel or in the car. But it's interesting to get to see different parts of the country and just kind of like see how people are living, the different landscapes and the different architecture, which I always find interesting and cool to look at. And all the corn, so much corn, tons of corn, plenty of corn. And the East Coast is really, really pretty around this time of year. Obviously California's been on fire, and we have had no rain, so we're having a fun time. But they got plenty of green and yellow and brown and red out there. A lot of mountainous areas. It's really nice. And definitely the thing that I was you can't help but notice is, as soon as you're somewhere that isn't touching an ocean in this country, it's just Trump signs, Trump billboards, Trump flags. Oh, and Texas loves their Trump flags. Plenty of big ass pickup trucks in Texas. We saw one, there are plenty that had like American flags, and Texas flags. One had American flag, Texas flag, Confederate flag, and a Trump train flag, which I think is very interesting and seems kind of contradictory in a few different areas. Man, I could say different things about each place we stayed at. But again, this is going to be a fairly short one. Just kind of like a brief overview, and I've just been wiped, I guess. So it's really interesting. I've been wanting to do a road trip like this for a while with the express purpose of like seeing people that I know around the country that I don't normally get to see. That was pretty limited this time, but it was fun seeing a few people. Um, I'm just kind of hearing about what different places have been like. We saw, oh man, we were in Tennessee and went on a hike, and we saw so many deer. And these deer were fucking chill. They were like hanging out right next to the trail or walking past the trail and just, you know, doing their little grazing while people were taking videos of them. And I was like 5 feet away from a little fawn while its mother was just kind of like off in the back, just kind of like, whatever, he's fine. And it was really cool. And I feel like I'm not used to like speaking. I haven't done these streams like this anymore. It's like, oh man, I forget how hard it is to just sit here and talk for half an hour to an hour by yourself. I did my warm ups, but I guess I didn't do enough. Man, yeah, the roads in Texas, the highways fucking suck. I mean, I've been in Texas. It's usually been in a bus or something. So I guess I don't notice. But we're sitting there, and the highways, it's the loudest highways that we experience like in the entire country. And I was thinking this is because it's like, I think it's like the cause and effect, like they feed into each other. It's like a feedback loop, where it's like they get fucked up from the big ass pickup trucks that everyone drives. And they don't fix them because people want to feel like they need those big ass pickup trucks. So they keep the roads shitty so that only those big ass trucks can comfortably ride on the shitty roads. Texas is interesting. East Texas, a lot of green, interesting smells. It smelled like tobacco and cherries. Like, we stopped one place and it smelled like tobacco and cherries, and I was like, that's interesting. And then we drove like another 100 miles and it smelled exactly the same. I was like, what the hell? The Midwest is a lot of corn. The Southwest, I usually scoff at all of the Southwest up until you get into like the metropolitan part of California, but like the desert landscape and the scenery is pretty cool. I still don't like Arizona though. Maybe I need to spend more time there when it's not blazing hot. But man, what a cool experience. There are definitely some places we saw that we'd want to spend more time in, even some small towns, you know, that were interesting, charming, had some stuff that would be fun to spend like a day or two just kind of hanging out. That's the sucky thing, because it's like, for me, when I travel, like, I had my GoPro, you know, I want to see cool stuff. I want to experience things that I don't normally get to experience where I'm at, and see things I don't normally get to see. But I also want to just like hang out and like live the way people around there live, and like kind of like, you know, get into a different vibe, you know, for a short amount of time. And you can't really do that when there's a pandemic, unless you just don't give a shit and you're just gonna do it. Like, oh my god. So in Texas, we stayed in this small town, like a college town, I guess. By the way, the worst hotel we stayed at, which it was okay. It was kind of like a hotel that was built over the ancient burial grounds of a motel and was being haunted by that motel. If that makes sense. And we were looking for places to eat. Because for the trip, for the most part, we had a pretty detailed itinerary where it was like, we're going to start here. In 4 hours, we're going to end up here, get gas, get lunch. And then 4 hours, we'll be at the hotel. We're going to eat dinner here, you know, so on and so forth. And we did pick out most of the places we were end up eating at, so we wouldn't have to decide day of, or we can tell if they were still open, and we could learn about what each place is doing with COVID and things like that. But there were a few stops where we didn't have anything planned, and this was one. So there were a few like bars that did food. We found one that looked good. We went in and it was filled with people. And obviously, yeah, a lot of places are doing dine-in. And it didn't seem like there was any limit on capacity because they were at capacity. All the workers were wearing masks, but literally no one else was because they were all eating and drinking. And so I wanted to like see like what they would do for like drinks to go, and I was like, "Fuck it, let's get the food and get out of here." We ordered ahead. We showed up. We paid. We left. Um, and we were like, "Oh shit, that was intense." There's so many people. Um, there were a few situations that were kind of like that. And it was definitely nerve wracking. We were in Vegas for the first part of our trip, and we weren't sure how that was going to be. You know, I didn't expect much from the casinos. I was expecting it to be pretty sketchy, and it was. There were a lot of people at the slots, a lot of people hanging out, drinking, smoking, and it was, man, it was a time. There was a Raider game going on, so everyone was in the lobby. And you don't think about this during normal times, but we had to park on the other side of the hotel in the big ass structure, and then we had to walk all the way through the whole casino and the lobby to get into the place to check in and then go up to the hotel. And so we had to go through all these different groups of people, you know, and it was not fun, you know. I say we did, for the most part, like, pretty well, trying to, you know, make sure we were good for the people that we're seeing, the people we're staying with, or her family that we were staying with, and now I'm back home, you know, but who knows, we may get a test next week. Don't really there's so much stuff going on for both of us this week that it's like we can't even look at like there are places where you can just kind of walk in and like do the test, but she's really like adamant about not doing the nasal swab, and I'm just kind of like I think it's gonna suck either way, and I don't think we have much of a choice. So if we're gonna do the test, we might as well just go do it wherever is the easiest, and we don't have to pay for it. um but I don't know, I feel okay, I guess, about all that. The worst thing from the trip is being sore. Part of that is from traveling in the car. Part of that is when we did horseback riding, and man, horseback riding hurts your butt in a very specific place. It's like under the cheeks. And then of course getting bit by something in Texas and having my foot swell up. Fun times. But it's a pretty interesting trip. I think it'll be fairly memorable, even though we didn't get to do, even though mostly what we did was drive. It was interesting getting to see different parts of the country you don't normally see, and hang out with some people, catch up, eat lots of Mexican food, because in most places, you know, being a vegetarian, especially small towns, other than like McDonald's and stuff, if you want to go to a restaurant, there's a steakhouse and there's a Mexican place or two. And I can't get anything at the steakhouse except for like mashed potatoes or something. So we go to the Mexican place and we get burritos and stuff. So that was a lot of the places that we stayed at, or we drove by. There were some interesting spots, some good spots, that we were able to hit up. Definitely like the higher end places where you're spending like $20, you know, upwards of $20 or more for a dish. And there's like, you know, it's like a nice dining experience and all that stuff. Like definitely that's lost when you're getting everything in to go box and you can't necessarily eat it right away. Like you order it and you get there like 15 minutes after it's done, and then you have to drive some more until you eat it, you know. So it's never going to be as good as if you ate it right when they brought it to you and you're eating it out of a styrofoam box in your car, which is kind of like disappointing, but you know, it was cool to experience some different places and some different cuisine. definitely we are spoiled out here in California, the LA area. Like, you can get really good versions of about just about like any kind of cuisine. I don't know about the best of anything in particular, probably some things. But definitely got a lot of options, and they're generally pretty good. But you never know in a small town. It's like everybody loves this place, and they say it's great, and the food's great, and it's got like 5 stars on Yelp, and you have it, and it's just like an average meal you'd have anywhere else, you know. Um, uh, it's interesting. People, the sort of normalcy, I guess, of the situation, both in terms of like people just adapting and making it work, and both in terms of and also in terms of like people just operating as if nothing has changed. You know, you saw both, sometimes both happening simultaneously, depending on which individual you were looking at. Um, we were in this small town candy shop in Illinois, and it was like filled with people, nobody wearing masks. Not the patrons, not the workers. Bunch of kids with MAGA hats on. We were like, oh shit, do we want to go in here? Apparently, this is the place to be. Eventually, we did go in, and then we were wearing our masks, and a few other people went in with masks on. Definitely, out of towners, like ourselves, and it's just interesting being in those situations. I guess you kind of get used to it. Um, and again, it's always a gamble, right? You never know if it's going to be the situation that gets you, or if it's just going to be like a close call, or I mean, I don't know. A lot of people live out there living by the seat of their, flying by the seat of their pants, as it were. So that is basically like I could give like a chronological thing. Maybe I'll do that at some point. Maybe I'll talk about it on one of the like on the Monday streams, one of the chill streams. But now it's just like a brief check-in. Hey, we're back. We did this trip home safe and sound, probably. I'm just very tired for some reason. But yeah, I think that I'll cut and run there. Hopefully at some point in the next month, I am able to put that video together. I still don't know what my like thesis is gonna be. I do know I want to put something together. I have a lot of like nice pictures and videos that would be fun just to put together, like to show people, like friends and family. But I do want to also do something for this channel specifically. I just don't know what yet. Obviously, like these streams have mostly nothing to do with music, although this is supposed to be like a music channel. You know, as a musician, I don't really have enough. I don't really have anything that I captured that could be used to steer towards a music-focused video. I didn't like see any buskers or live performers while we were out. We avoided any kind of crowded thing that we could, as well as we could. Which doesn't mean we didn't get any, obviously. As I've said, as I've described. So I don't know yet. Still thinking about it. Other pressing things that we're focused on right now, but I wanted to just give that little rundown, talk about the trip a little bit, kind of ease back into these streams. But yeah, we should be able to go back to normal stream time Monday 7 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time, I guess, and then Thursday 3:45 Pacific Daylight Standard. I guess there's a difference now between Standard Time and Daylight Time, but whatever. You know what I mean. Mondays and Thursdays. Next week, we may be gone. I may be gone for a Thursday stream, but I should still be able to do it. Monday should be fine. So yeah, mostly be back to normal schedule. Still doing these Octoonbers. So check them out. I haven't been uploading them on YouTube because I haven't had time to take them off my phone or take them off my GoPro, upload it to a computer, and then upload it to YouTube. So I'll probably start doing that tomorrow. I don't think I'm gonna do that today. But I link all my other socials in the description on YouTube at least, and they should be there on Twitch as well. So my Instagram and my Twitter, mostly where I'm posting them. I post them on the Facebook page too. I don't really use the Facebook page all that much because Facebook is Facebook. But yeah, I think that about covers it for this Corn stream. I am gracious for your continued visual support. Hope everyone else is doing okay. Catch you on Monday. Till then,